Hello there, very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to the weekend edition of Primetime News. We're coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news tonight, I'm Joel Outskun. Let's take a look at our headlines for this evening.
The country requires at least $8 billion for its development, a statement from the Prime Minister in Parliament.
අපිට මේක දියුණු කරන්න නම් අඩු ගානේ ඇමරිකන් ඩොලර් බිලියන 8ක් ඕනේ.
Water tariffs to be increased from the 1st of December. Supermoon to be witnessed on Monday. Locals of Papolwata demonstrate in Kahatachia Udawalawe for clean drinking water. Legal professor claims that US President-elect Donald Trump could be impeached within weeks.
On our top story this evening, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board has decided to increase the water tariffs with effect from the 1st of December.
The increase in water tariffs will take place in accordance with a Gazette notification issued on the 2nd of November under the signature of National Water Supply and Drainage Board Chairman K.A. Ansar. The tariffs paid by some of the beneficiaries will not change for up to 15 units of consumption. However, households that utilize between 16 and 20 units of water will see a tariff increase of 8 rupees, while the monthly service fee has been increased by 320 rupees. A 17 rupee increase will be felt by households that utilize between 21 and 25 units of water, with the monthly service fee for these houses increased by 300 rupees. For usage between 26 and 30 units of water, the tariff increase will amount to 26 rupees, while the monthly service fee has been increased by 600 rupees. For non-Samurdhi beneficiaries, the tariff increase will be as follows. Usage of 5 units will result in an 8 rupee tariff increase, with the monthly service fee increased by 200 rupees. Usage between 6 to 10 units will result in a 5 rupee tariff increase, with the monthly service fee increased by 185 rupees. Usage between 11 to 14 units will result in a 6 rupee tariff increase, with the monthly service fee increased by 180 rupees. Usage between 16 to 20 units will result in a 12 rupees tariff increase, with the monthly service fee increased by 320 rupees. Usage between 21 to 25 units will result in a 17 rupee tariff increase, with the monthly service fee increased by 300 rupees. Usage between 26 to 30 units will result in a 26 rupee tariff increase, with the monthly service fee increased by 600 rupees.
We have to spend around 45 rupees to produce a unit of water. However, we provide it to the consumers at a very low rate. Usually the tariffs need to be revised once in every 3 years. However, this has not taken place after 2012. Therefore, we decided to implement these tariff changes from the 1st of December. The prices won't change for low-income earning families, and we will continue to provide water free of charge for places of worship as well as schools.
However, careful observation of the Gazette notification shows that the water tariff for schools and places of worship would increase by 1 rupee, while the monthly fee has been increased by 250 rupees.
The ministers have been speaking very highly of this budget. However, last evening we got to know of another issue. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board had issued a gazette on the 2nd of November. This gazette calls for tariffs to be raised by around 500 or 600%. While the government trumpets that they have allocated a large sum of money to provide drinking water for all, they have raised the monthly fee on all households, including Samurdhi beneficiaries. They have also increased the tariffs for places of worship and schools. This was not there in the budget.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said in Parliament today that the country requires $8 billion for its development. The Prime Minister made this statement while commencing the second day of the debate on the second reading of the budget.
The budget speech of this national government, in short, is a budget which strengthens the ordinary family. This budget was formulated together with several key ministers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the United National Party. From here on, we suggest that the minister obtain the views of the opposition as well. We should report our income and expenditure for every quarter to the Committee on Public Finance and function according to their recommendations. Or if the income is less for one quarter, what do we do with our expenses? And if the income is high, what extra expenses we have to make? So, Honourable Deputy Speaker, let us all, the Chairman and the Opposition inclusive, discuss this matter quickly and formulate the budget law and bring this matter to Parliament. The 2016 income increased up to 1,432 billion. In 2017, our income will increase to about 1,800 billion. Beyond 2017, the government income will surpass our recurrent expenditure. This will first benefit education and health. So, Honourable Deputy Speaker, there may be rough times over the next 2 to 3 years. I won't say no.
Deng Xiaoping ke hua, it doesn't matter if the cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice.
It doesn't matter if it's red, yellow or blue. Anything is fine. If we are to develop this, we need at least $8 billion. I think we can speak to America as well. Because the way I see it, it appears the Pacific Agreement will not happen. It will be more beneficial if we go as a singular and little country. America is not a threat to any one of us. Chinese companies alone have requested for 15,000 acres in Hambantota for factories. Now these MPs may say that this was constructed by President Mahinda Rajapaksa. It doesn't matter. It is your name and our brains. What are we doing? For 5 years nothing happened. There were no ships, no flights. We are now getting down to work.
Here are some of the views expressed during the budget debate today.
The President specifically instructed us to include one of his concepts into this budget. He instructed us to name next year as a year to eradicate poverty and to create a program which will bring an income for the poor. We have included that aspect into the budget this time around. With the economic triumph that we will achieve in the 2017 budget, we will carry on the program to wipe out poverty by 2020. We will create a system which will bring in money into the hands of the people instead of the welfare system. We have identified several alternative methods for this. We are in the process of establishing a board for welfare and benefits. They said that free Wi-Fi will be provided to browse the World Wide Web, but instead they hiked up the internet levy by 25%. It costs at least 100 million rupees to nurture this swarm of cabinet ministers. So while bearing such a large cost for cabinet ministers, does it not baffle you when the finance minister brings in a proposal to tap into the pension fund of the country? Of course it does. Many who criticize his budget call this budget a debt-ridden budget. We respect the right of the opposition to freely express their views in Parliament. Since the parliamentary system came into being, a government has never been able to bring in a budget which balances income and expenditure without loans. This is not limited to our country. It can be seen all over the world.
Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, W.B. Jayawardena, says that the government is beginning to interfere in the affairs of the Monetary Board through the budget. He expressed these sentiments during a special seminar held in Colombo last evening.
There is a dangerous situation that has been created through this budget. The Minister of Finance has begun to interfere in the affairs of the Monetary Board. The collection of revenue takes place under the Monetary Board and a new mechanism for this purpose is being developed. However, through the budget, the Minister of Finance announced that he is creating a new system with the assistance of ICTA. All government institutes that pay taxes and even institutes like the Department of Customs as well as private institutions have to make their tax payments through this system. This is the problem that I have. Will the taxes that I pay end up in an account of the Commissioner General of Inland Revenue, or will it end up in Nigeria? The Finance Minister announced that he has reached a decision on how much capital a bank must maintain and also comments on the loans that could be given away. That is not the job of the Minister of Finance. It is the job of the Monetary Board. The Minister also makes a new proposal to the banks. If you collect deposits from a certain area, then 15% of that money should definitely be given away as loans to people from the area. This is not a decision that the Finance Minister should take. This decision should be taken by the bank. What will happen when you force this? Then the bank managers' uncles and relatives will get the loans. At the end of the day, the central bank statistics will indicate the required 15%. He also proposes not to record debts under 500,000 rupees. I don't know why he made such a proposal, because that is the sole responsibility of the CRIB. Based on the information issued by them, banks can decide on their own whether or not to issue loans. I believe that the finance minister's actions, which interfere in the affairs of the monetary board, are not justified.
The former deputy governor of the central bank also shared these views on the budget.
There was no budget for 2016. There was one that was presented, but a majority of the proposals were taken back before it was passed. It was the Prime Minister that made this decision, not the Finance Minister. We would have been happy if the Finance Minister explained what happened in 2016 during the 2017 budget speech. Although the Finance Minister is unaware, there are glaring holes in this budget. One such issue is the amount of money allocated for ministers. We have been told the monthly salary of a minister is 75,000 rupees, which is a small amount. They are described as patriots who do so much for the country. However, according to my calculations, taking into account all the allowances they receive, the taxpayers spend about 6 million rupees a month on one minister. That is the minimum value that I came up with. The highest paid Prime Minister and the ministers are from Singapore. However, what I have seen in this, these ministers drive their own vehicles, because if the ministers are forced to get personal guards out of their own pockets, then they will never hire about 100 guards. This is what we should do as well. Let's pay these politicians a decent salary. You can give 2 million and it will be still lower than the cost incurred today. This is a big hole in the budget which is leaking money. But now one can see this. The ministers and parliamentarians don't see it. The Cope doesn't see it.
ඉතින් මේ නාස්තිය මේක මේ හිලක් මේ හිලෙන් යනවා හොගාලා සල්ලි. අපි දන්නේ නැහැ කොච්චර. මොකද මේක පේන්නේ නැහැ කාටවත්. മന്ത്രിවරුන්ට පේන්නේත් නැහැ, පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට පේන්නේත් නැහැ, කෝප් එකට පේන්නේත් නැහැ.
In news from the President this evening, the Clinical Nutrition Conference organized by the Sri Lanka Medical Nutrition Association was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena today.
The theme for this year's meeting was Emergence of Clinical Nutrition Challenges. Organized by the Sri Lanka Medical Nutrition Association, the conference was held yesterday and today.
I wish that we will be able to appoint at least one nutrition specialist to each division. But there is one fear. We could develop nutrition specialists, but there is a possibility that they would leave these shores. One of the main needs of the country is to raise the nutrition levels. You all must understand the importance of the dedication and generosity you need to practice. We would not mind if you leave our country only after a considerable number of doctors are qualified in this area.
Meanwhile, the President also took part in a discussion that focused on how to minimize inconveniences caused by dry weather conditions. The discussion was held at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. New proposals on how to maintain water levels at reservoirs and tanks in the north-central province were taken into consideration.
A foundation stone was laid for a model village today named Swarapati Amaradeva in memory of the late musical maestro Dr. Pandit Amaradeva.
The village, which is being constructed in the Veeraville area in Tissa Maharama, is the 53rd phase of the Samata Sevana Model Village project. The model village consists of 28 houses.
මේ කලා ප්‍රවාහය හරහා මේ කලාකරුවන්ට සංගීත වේදීන්ට
The artisans, musicians and country citizens can gather a number of examples through this artistic flow. Maestro Amaradeva was one such person who gave the example to this country through the musical industry. The musical industry is not only a profession to fill up your own pockets. Pandit Amaradeva is one of the few artists who taught the important lesson of social responsibility that exists in the field of music. His conduct is an example to us all.
A decision was taken yesterday to transfer former parliamentarian Duminda Silva, who was sentenced to death after being found guilty for the murder of Bharat Lakshman Premachandra, to the Sri Javadarpura Hospital for a neurological disorder.
Responding to an inquiry made by Newsfirst, prison spokesperson Tushara Upuldinia said that even though Duminda Silva was taken to the Sri Javadarpura Hospital last evening, he was brought back to the prison's hospital as the doctor was not in at the time.
The doctor at the prison's hospital had made a recommendation that the former parliamentarian be directed to the specialist doctors he previously received treatment from. Thereby, the prisons commissioner summoned a report from him questioning if there is any particular reason as to why he needs to be admitted to the Sri Jayawardhanapura hospital instead of the national hospital. The doctor said that this is for a vital requirement and that special consultation needs to be sought over treatment which is due for certain parts of the body. Thereby, we directed him to the Sri Jayawardhanapura hospital that very day for the treatment required. However, his specialist doctors was not in at the time. Therefore, he was not accepted and was returned to the prison. The prison's doctor has informed us that the former parliamentarian has a neurological disorder.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Planetarium says that for the first time in 68 years, the full moon appearing in the skies on Uduwa full moon Poide will be larger than on other full moon Poides. The phenomenon is known the supermoon.
According to the planetarium, the supermoon is around 14% larger than the regular moon and 30% brighter than usual. Planetarium sources say a supermoon is the coincidence of a full moon with the closest approach the moon makes to the Earth on an elliptical orbit. In such an occurrence, the Sun, Moon and Earth are all aligned in one straight line. The distance between the Earth and the Moon is around 384,400 kilometers. However, on November 14th, when the supermoon appears, the distance between Earth and the Moon will be 356,509 kilometers. Such a supermoon was last seen in 1948, and the next supermoon will appear again on the 25th of November 2034.
Some fear as to whether this could pose any harm. Some speculate that this could result in earthquakes. The theory of the occurrence of earthquakes has not been proven. However, the tide might rise more than usual levels. There will be an increase in the gravitational levels as well.
Residents of the Papawatha village engaged in a protest while obstructing vehicular movement on the Amlipiti-Rathnapura main road in the Kadati area in Udawalawa. The villagers engaged in a protest against the divisional secretariat's attempts to sabotage a drinking water project in the Papawatha area.
This drinking water project was being built to fulfill the drinking water requirements of over 150 families living in the Papawatha village. However, work on the project had to be halted after the divisional secretary yesterday called for work on the project to be stopped. In protest over this decision, a group engaged in protest this morning while obstructing the Ambalipete-Rathnapura main road in the Kahadatia area. After we commenced construction, a notification was sent through the Grama Seva office at around 10 last morning to stop work. When we contacted the divisional secretariat, they said the work needs to be stopped until the arrival of the divisional secretary.
First, the divisional secretary granted approval to construct this at the temple. Then we brought all the material. If we can't spare half an hour to come and observe this in a government vehicle, then there is no need for such a government officer to continue work at the divisional secretariat.
A correspondent noted that traffic congestion was reported due to the protest that continued for over an hour. When contacted by Newsfirst, Divisional Secretary of Ambalipitiya Vasantha Gunaratne said that this decision was taken in order to inspect the site. He added that a decision will be given as soon as the site is inspected.
Will Sri Lanka adopt a move similar to what was adopted by India with regard to currency? This is what the Finance Minister had to say at an annual budget seminar organized by the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka this morning.
We have trying to bring it in the economy into more formal sector. That is why we have imposed anybody who wants to cash 5 million and above pays 2%. We have ensured that if it's basically 5 million and above payment comes through telegraphic transfers, checks, bank drafts, there's absolutely no cost at all. So we want it shown going to that era. We don't want to remove the 5,000 rupee note as done by our neighbors. But if that success of India comes in, then those are things that we have got to look at as well. But we don't want to go that. We want to ensure that the formal economy is what takes the economy into the next phase.
The minister made the following response to a question raised on the taxation of capital markets.
To be very frank, there was manipulation that is taking place and not to the desired objective of what it was meant for. Especially the unit trust is something which is there for the smaller investors, and we want to give maximum benefit right into the hands of the receiver. And that's our intention, not to have corporate companies seeking refuge through this unit trust and making undue advantages.
The Friday Forum has called for several reforms to be made in the police service and reflection on the process of demilitarization in the wake of the shooting of 2 university students in Jaffna.
Issuing a release, the Friday Forum says that it unequivocally condemns the police shooting of the 2 Jaffna University students, Vijay Kumar Sulakshan and Nadaraja Gajan, on the 21st of October 2016, adding that this act of violence by the police in the name of law enforcement is a grim reminder of the brutality that plagues the police force. While calling for extensive overhaul and reform of the police service, the Friday Forum stresses that in the north and east in particular, people have lost confidence in the state to ensure justice when their rights of personal security and protection are violated by law enforcement agencies. The Friday Forum goes on to say that the incident should be a moment to reflect on the extraordinary militarization of our state and society over so many decades. The Friday Forum goes on to note that it is worrying that even 7 years later, we as a society have failed to even have an open national discussion on the importance of demilitarization for meaningful peace and democracy. The Friday Forum, however, says that the point here is not about apportioning blame. It is the responsibility of us all to address the tragic outcome of the conflict. In addition to the reduction of the military, the Friday Forum says that institutions of surveillance such as military intelligence and the Terrorism Investigation Department have to be abolished or reformed. The forum also calls for the Prevention of Terrorism Act be repealed, adding that moves to merely replace one draconian regime with another is unacceptable.
The annual conference for heads of schools of TESOL, or the International Schools of Sri Lanka, commenced in Kandalama yesterday.
The inauguration of the annual conference, which is held on the topic Spotlight on Powerful Practices in Schools, was held under the auspices of Minister of Skills Development and Vocational Training, Mahinda Samarasinha.
In an increasingly competitive world, degrees are now being superseded by master's degrees or even PhDs. We do very well when we look at the primary statistics, but when it comes to tertiary figures, we are much below. So with 26,000 vacancies in the conventional universities, it's not possible to cater to the demand. This is why private universities are being promoted.
Also speaking at the inauguration of the conference, Chairman of TESOL, Dr. Harsha Alas, stressed on the importance of upgrading the education curriculum to the modern requirement. The conference, which will also witness the participation of speakers from several foreign educational establishments, will conclude tomorrow.
An event to mark World Town Planning Day organized by the Young Planners Forum of the Institute of Town Planners of Sri Lanka was held in Colombo today. News First were the media partners for the event.
The event, themed Be the Change, Envisioning a Better Tomorrow, was held under the auspices of Minister of Megapolis and Western Development, Patali Champika Ranawaka. The keynote address was delivered by renowned environmentalist, Attorney at Law Jagat Gunawardana. In line with the event, the award ceremony for Be the Change video documentary competition was also held. The celebration was followed by the AGM of the Young Planners Forum.